When most of us hear the word pride or proud, the first thing that comes to mind, whether consciously or not, is the LGBT community, as the association between pride and rainbows has become deeply ingrained in society. It's certainly the top result on Google when you search for the term. The second meaning that may come to mind is pride as one of the 7 deadly sins, actually the worst of them, since it is considered the root of all sin. Excessive pride leads to arrogance, self-importance, and a blindness to one's own wrongdoing, making people feel superior to others. Historically, pride was not seen as a virtue. The third common association with pride, at least in Australia, is its overuse in the ABC and other media when referring to Aboriginal people. I'm not sure if this occurs in other countries, but it is certainly prevalent here. For example, in an article published today about First Nations designers and models at Australian Fashion Week, the ABC wrote, as she watched her models rehearse backstage on Tuesday, the proud Gureng and South Sea Islander woman. Later in the same article, proud Wiradjuri woman Denny Francisco said she drew inspiration from the traditional country of different First Nations people across Australia. This isn't an isolated case. ABC uses the word proud frequently when reporting on Indigenous individuals. In an article about a preschool teaching endangered Aboriginal languages, Ms. Buck is a proud Gamilaroi woman who has lived and worked on Darkinjung country her whole life. In a piece about disabled women playing sport, the proud Walpiri teenager. Interestingly, the ABC also writes about Carson Pickett, stating, Carson Pickett was the first woman with limb difference to play for the US national team. I don't think I've heard it described that way before. It reminds me of my satirical armhead video from a couple of years ago. The pattern continues across various topics. In an article about traditional owners calling for greater focus on Indigenous issues, they want all Australians to be proud of their Indigenous cultures. In another piece discussing identity and womanhood, I'm continuing to learn to be a proud woman of colour and embrace my unique femininity. Sky Cusack is a Dalgabara Yidinji writer currently living in Ruby Broome. Even in unrelated news stories such as a house fire and scam victim, we see this phrasing. A proud Noongar woman, Ms. Weatherly said her connection to country drew her back to her home. Now, I'm not trying to criticise individuals here, and I'm not even sure whether they actively choose to describe themselves as proud or whether ABC applies the label for them, but the pattern is clear. If you're Aboriginal, the ABC almost automatically refers to you as proud. But it's not just Aboriginal people who can be proud. Consider these ABC write-ups on election candidates from last month. Stephen Bates of the Greens was described as a proud gay man, Nildara Gadani as a proud migrant, and Jasmine Duff of the Victorian Socialists as a proud trade unionist. James Williams of the Greens was labelled a proud Waka Waka man from the state known as Queensland, while Nick Ward was a proud member of the LGBT community. Savannah Peake was referred to as a proud lesbian woman, thankfully avoiding the absurdity of identifying as a proud lesbian man. Even among Liberals, Benson Sorlo was described as a proud descendant of the Wemba Wemba and Gunditjmara Aboriginal nations of Victoria. But pride isn't limited to identities. It can extend to body parts, or lack thereof. Consider Ali France, who won the seat of Dixon, unseating opposition leader Peter Dutton. She too is proud. You see, Ms. France is limb diverse, or whatever the modern politically correct terminology is. The ABC wrote, Ali France couldn't be prouder of her 2 best friends. My first best friend is my prosthetic leg, and my second is my wheelchair. It sounds a bit sad having artificial objects as best friends, but I get her point. She's dependent on them. I'm proud of my leg, she said, sitting on a park bench with titanium ankle crossed over human knee. That's an interesting way to put it. If you're the Greens, you can also be proud of abortion. Dr. Cohn said the Greens were incredibly proud to have put abortion access on the political agenda, noting that anti-abortion campaigns are based on misinformation. Of course, you can also be proud of an overrepresentation of women. PM very proud of significant representation of women. The Labor Party room is 57% women, and the PM is very proud. So basically, Australia is cooked. Our national broadcaster has put so much emphasis on racial, sexual and gender identity, it's hard to see how we could ever recover. You're allowed to be proud if you're Aboriginal, a migrant, a lesbian woman, or have a disability, but if you dared to say you're a proud white man, you'd likely be instantly labelled a neo-Nazi scumbag.